Hello, Burbankers!
And welcome back to the Mike and Roy Show. We're really excited to have another candidate for City Council here to be interviewed today, Sharis Manokian. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And let's get right to the question today, Mike. And we got a lot of ground to cover, Sharis. So here we go. The Burbank Airport plans to expand the terminal to 150% of its existing size. We know the plan is to replace the 14 gates with 14 gates. But with the expansion of the terminal, we're likely to see a dramatic increase in air and ground traffic. What are your thoughts on airport expansion at Burbank?
I think, well, firstly, I think the largest problem with, the people that live in that area is, of course, noise pollution. I know that with the new project, there's a plan to, implement a mandatory curfew at night so that there isn't aircraft flying above. And that's something that I hope happens. I want to ensure that that does happen. It's not just something that was said and then not followed through on. In doing a lot of research in this, I think I came across a lot of groups like Burbank for Quiet Skies, Studio City for Quiet Skies. I think those groups have done a lot of research into, the expansion and everything like that. And I would love to work with them to implement solutions like the curfew and like changing flight paths so that aircraft isn't flying low. And I think that that kind of goes hand in hand with the increased air and ground traffic. I know that, again, it's been said, they're not going to increase operations necessarily. I don't know how much of that I really believe. So I would even go so far as to, advocate for reducing operations seasonally or something along those lines. Because I think that, it's possible to have a small functioning airport that is convenient for flyers, but also for residents because they're the permanent fixture really that we need to respect in this area.
Thank you.
Police corruption, abuse, and systemic racism have been a major hotbed issue nationally. How would you rate Burbank Police Department's record on these issues?
While there isn't, a major instance of police brutality like that you can look at like there are in other countries or in other states, I don't think that Burbank is perfect yet. I think that it's something that we're working towards. For example, I think there was an independent audit done last year of BPD, and, the audit said that they can handle their misconduct allegations a little bit better with a little bit more scrutiny. I think that that's something that the department knows. I think that it's something that at our recent BLM March, our POC community made it very clear. They want to have an open discussion with the police department. They want to improve relations between police and civilians. And, I think that people usually ask, the common response is, why would we need to change anything really if there aren't any problems here? And to that, I would say I think we need to step back and look at the larger picture. Los Angeles, California, it's really looked up to. And we have a chance to set precedents for the rest of the nation, for the police departments across the country. So I would like to see us take a step towards, de-escalation training, mental health training. And I think in that way we can kind of set an example and move in a direction with the whole country towards, better relations.
Thank you.
Okay, going on. Exceedingly high salaries throughout our city staff has been a major concern for Burbank residents. Mike and I have spoken many times in council about this and given some pretty good ideas for solutions that weren't really paid attention to, but that's a side note. Staff disagrees and argues that their salaries are in line with those in comparable communities and essential in order to retain employees. Our research and the high turnover rate among city staff dispute that. What are your thoughts on staff salaries?
I was very recently reading an article that, it wasn't a recent article, but I read it recently about how they increased the salary of the city attorney. And, I was looking into it and I saw it's like that you said they raised it so that it's comparable to the average in the region. And to that I was like, okay, well, that makes sense, I guess. But, like you said, your research indicates there's a high turnover rate and all that stuff. So it's a tricky situation. I think where I would stand is, okay, if you want to raise it to the average in the region, fine. I don't really see us raising it any more than that, especially if there is a high turnover rate. I don't really know what the argument would be to raise it even more than the average that it currently is at. And, maybe to retain employees, it would draw from leadership in the community as opposed to bringing in people and trying to attract them with, high salaries, because obviously that's not what's keeping people in their positions.
Thank you. I know you'll have some very strong views on our schools.
Yes.
And we've been active in the schools with raising our children here in Burbank.
Yeah.
And, the Burbank Unified School District has been attempting to pass a new parcel tax to support the financial needs of our schools. Burbank voters did not pass these ballot measures in our last two elections. Are you in favor of a new parcel tax to support our schools?
Yeah. So, as an educator, as someone who's gone through the school system, I went to Miller Elementary, I went to John Muir Middle School, I went to Burbank High. I know that, the schools need funding to improve. They're great schools, they are, but of course there are always things that can be better. So, from that perspective, I'm definitely in favor of a new parcel tax. I was a supporter of Measure I. I'm in favor of really any way or anything that is going to increase education funding for our schools. On the other hand, why are these taxes not passing? It's because people just don't want to pay more taxes. Who wants to do that? So I think that, there has to be some medium that we find so that we can get this education funding, whether that be reallocating existing funds, or, I think I was talking to a constituent a few weeks ago and he said something like, we can sell advertising space on Memorial Field or something like that. So, I think there are options to explore should a new parcel tax not be introduced or not pass, but I am in favor of anything that is going to increase funding for education, for sure.
Great.
What about on the football field, the Mike and Roy show? What do you think, Mike? We have those girls? Yeah, like really big.
Yeah, get your checkbook out.
I will. Okay. All right, thank you. Let's see. Yeah, developer impact fees. So our neighboring communities charge developers a fee per unit that they build, but are much, much higher. Did we cover this already?
Nope.
Okay, just want to make sure I wasn't, that was the last candidate, forgive me. Their developer fees in our neighboring communities are much, much higher than here in Burbank. These development impact fees could greatly benefit our community, but our city council and staff are very hesitant to raise them to the levels of our neighbors. What are your views on DIFs? And do you feel our low fees are encouraging developers to replace much of our affordable housing with units that are too expensive for most of the current residents here in Burbank?
I think I view the impact fees in the same way I view like Prop 15, for example. I think that the benefits that they have to the community greatly outweigh the costs. Because I agree with you, yeah, they're definitely driving out the chance for us to build affordable housing units. All that does is just drive out the diversity that we have in our community. So I'm certainly in favor of, increasing the fees and charging these developer fees. Firstly, to, stop the end to affordable housing units being built here, and also to be able to pay for the impact that these new developments have. I think the common response is probably, well, then no one's going to want to develop in Burbank. But that's not true. Burbank, realistically, it's a great place. We have a diverse community, socioeconomically diverse community. It's a great geographical location. There's always going to be people that want to come and build here. So I don't really see much of an argument to not raising the fees, especially because it's already so high around us. So where are they going to go?
Great, thanks. Our city council imposed what we, Roy and I, and many residents in Burbank see as restrictions on our ability to publicly address and engage with our elected officials and city staff. One of these restrictions was the elimination of final public comment at the close of every city council meeting. Would you support us in our effort to have final orals reinstated at city council meetings?
Absolutely. I think I share those same sentiments. Why would we have elected officials if we cannot talk to them? Their whole purpose is to serve the community and do the things that, we want so that there are improvements. If they're not going to listen to the community, then who is it that you're listening to and whose interests are you serving? So definitely reinstating the final orals for sure is something that I would like to see if elected. And also maybe bringing in some type of public forum on days that there aren't meetings where the community can come and kind of just voice their concerns because they deserve to be heard. That's the whole purpose of local officials.
Thank you. Those were our questions that we sent you ahead of time.
Yes.
We have just a couple that we'd like to ask you
Okay.
and kind of put you on the spot, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
Roy, you want to ask the first one of those?
Sure, and I want to proceed that with preface it with a compliment. You, I think so far, are most succinct, and you really move, nothing against the other candidates, but because we're trying to keep our videos public for it, so I should shut up. But
Thank you.
compliments to you. Nothing against anybody else. Okay, so here's the off-the-cuff questions, on-the-spot questions. Many Burbank residents feel that we have a problem with overdevelopment that may be permanently changing the character of our community. What are your thoughts on overdevelopment in Burbank?
I think that our first priority in terms of developing new commercial properties should be for, housing. So I guess they wouldn't be commercial properties, but development should, I think, ideally be put put towards affordable housing, that's kind of where I want to see us going in, because that's what we have a lack of. We have a housing crisis. There are a lot of homeless people, and there are renters that are, going to be kicked out of their places. So affordable housing is kind of where I really want our development focus to be. And I think in terms of, large commercial properties, we should really be trying to find a way to support our small businesses, especially here in Magnolia Park and downtown Burbank, because they are the heart and soul of our community. They are owned by people that live in the community, and why would we, kind of go out of our way to help like Walmart and Target when we can help the people here? You can get the same things here that you can get at Walmart and Target. So small businesses and building affordable housing is kind of where I want us to go in terms of developing new things here.
Great.
Thanks.
Sharis, if you are elected to our city council, the safety and quality of life in Burbank should be a priority. Mm-hmm. What would you consider to be your number one priority as a city council member?
I think given the current situation, I think the pandemic relief response that we've had would kind of be my number one priority for sure, because there really isn't anything else that we can focus on right now. I think that our response has been okay. I would definitely want to continue, the moratorium, the eviction moratorium for our renters. I would want to, for homeowners, maybe push mortgage payments to the back end of mortgages, find ways that we can help our small businesses, either with loans, or, putting a pause on rent payments for them as well. So I think pandemic, working on kind of getting our economy and our small businesses out of this would probably be my number one priority.
Great.
One of the best kept secrets in Burbank recently is the addition of a large Amazon facility at the new Avion development on Hollywood Way near the airport. Why do you think this has been kept a secret, and how do you feel this will affect the surrounding neighborhood and the entire community? Also, what do you think will happen to the new Avion development when the high-speed rail facility comes to that area?
So I think Amazon is kind of a hot topic just recently because, of Jeff Bezos and maybe some of the ways that they handle business. I think it's been kept a secret because, there probably would definitely be pushback from the community in regards to an Amazon facility being built here. I would like to see, maybe I guess it would be an environmental impact report in some sense of how, that new fixture is kind of going to affect the community before we've confirmed that we want it to be built. In terms of, what was the second part of the question?
High-speed rail.
The high-speed rail.
The effect, you mentioned that EIR already, environmental.
Right. Well, yeah, just that. But what do you think will happen to the new Avion development once the high-speed rail comes in, if that happens?
Yeah, I think, again, that would be something that I would want to kind of explore maybe with a reporter study done, because I am definitely a supporter of the high-speed rail. I think it's great for our environment and our sustainability. I've looked over that environmental impact report, and I think it's going to be okay if it's built here. There's going to be a stop in Burbank. So I think I would definitely just like to see, a study done so I can kind of really analyze the effects of it.
Yeah, well, and I know, sorry, Mike, I know we're kind of surprising with some of these questions, but our understanding, and it was confirmed a couple weeks ago, is if the high-speed rail comes to Burbank, it will go where Avion is, and they will have to tear down Avion, which is under construction now, to make room for the high-speed rail. So that's, a lot
something
going
we'll
on.
Kind of keep an eye on.
Okay.
One more question. It's the most important question, and it's a tough question.
Are you sitting down?
I think I know your answer. I'm going to let Roy ask the question.
Oh gosh, okay.
Indians or Bulldogs?
Oh my gosh, I have to say Bulldogs. I'm Burbank High graduate. Did you guys? Are you Indians?
We're Indians only because our kids went there.
Oh, okay.
But thank you for not taking the political stand. Oh, they're both great.
Yeah.
We love the Indians.
You took a stand.
You know who you love. You know your true blue Bulldog.
That's true.
Thank you for being here. Good luck in the election.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I know it's tough doing all this stuff, campaigning and things, but you're really serving your community by doing it, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we'll see you next time on the Mike and Roy Show.